So last week we talked about Jonathan Luna. This week we're kind of keeping on theme. We're going to talk about Ray Gricar. Gricar. I've heard it said a bunch of different ways, so don't come for me in the comments about my mispronunciation. I'm from Alabama. I can't help it. Ray Gricar was also a prosecutor, and his specialty was rape and murder cases. Okay, so he's married at this point in 1980. That's where we're going to start. He's married, and him and his wife actually adopted a little girl. So they have one child, and they move to Pennsylvania, to State College, Pennsylvania, for his wife to work at Penn State. And so, yeah. So while his wife is working at Penn State, he decides that he is going to be a stay-at-home dad and just take care of this little girl that they have adopted, take care of the home while she is working. So Ray actually doesn't stay a stay-at-home dad for a full year. He's offered a job as an assistant district attorney for Centre County, and so that's in 1980. And eventually, 5 years later in 1985, he would run for district attorney after his predecessor retired. So 1985, he becomes district attorney. And he continued to run and be reelected through 2005. So, I mean, that's a pretty long career. And again, that's an elected position, so the people apparently are happy with the job he is doing. And it actually was a part-time job, which I didn't realize until he campaigned for it to be made into a full-time position in 1996. So district attorney in Centre County was part-time, which I don't know, that seems a little crazy to me, but okay. So during this time as district attorney, a few things would happen. He would get divorced, he would get remarried, he would get divorced again.
A bachelor.
Yes, exactly. And eventually in 2003, 2004, he met a woman that would become his girlfriend. I think maybe at this point he had kind of decided marriage wasn't right for him, but they lived together, they had a good relationship, things were going well. So another thing I want to point out, there are two specific instances that I want to just kind of bring up before we break down what happened to Ray and the theories. Okay, so Ray's older brother disappeared from Ohio in May of '96. He disappeared, but then his body was later found a week later in the Miami River. He had committed suicide. Okay. Now, after Ray's disappearance, a big deal of a situation would come to light. So in 1998, Ray chose not to prosecute Jerry Sandusky. Do you know who that is?
Sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar? Okay. So Jerry Sandusky was pretty much an institution at Penn State. He was an assistant football coach. He actually had a nonprofit called Second Mile, which helped at-risk families, at-risk kids, and helped their parents as well. So he had a lot of access to children because they had football camps each year. Now, Jerry Sandusky and his wife actually, and I didn't realize this, adopted 6 kids. They had 6 children. They adopted them all, and they fostered. They fostered a whole lot of children, okay? So in 1998, someone, I don't know if it was an entity, a program, an individual, someone came and put a case before Ray Gricar against Jerry Sandusky. Now, Ray did not prosecute this case. I don't know if it was because he didn't have the evidence. I really don't know. What I do know is that in 2011, Jerry Sandusky was charged, he was charged with 52 counts of sexual abuse. Okay, he actually was convicted of 45 in June of 2011. Now, there's always been kind of gossip around the fact that this had been going on and had been swept under the rug. That individual parents had come forward after camps with Sandusky and things like that, and it just kind of got swept under the rug. Here's this great guy who's an institution at Penn State. He's adopted 6 kids. He's fostered all these kids. Like, you know, they're trying to make him look bad or whatever. So it got swept under the rug for years until 2011 when he was actually prosecuted. And again, he was convicted and is in prison to this day. One of his adopted children actually came out and talked about being sexually abused by Jerry Sandusky. Terrible human being. I mean, just
disgusting.
Yes, just a terrible excuse for a human. But again, Ray chose not to prosecute him 13 years before. Okay? And again, it very well may have been he didn't have the evidence, he didn't have enough to go on. We don't really know. Okay? So let's get into Ray Gricar's story. So on April 15th, 2005, Ray tells his girlfriend that he is going to play hooky from work. It's a Friday. He's going to go for a drive in his Mini Cooper, and he is going to check out some antique stores. Ray liked antiquing, but he doesn't return. So the following day on the 16th, his Mini Cooper is found in an antique store parking lot. So authorities then begin to look through his bank statements, his call records, anything they can think of to try and figure out where Ray has gone. Because again, they have his car, they have his work phone, nothing else. On July 30th, which is 3.5 months to the day, Ray's computer is found on the banks of the Susquehanna River. And I'm probably butchering that too, but again, I am from Alabama. It's okay. Yeah. So it's actually, it's not found on the banks. It's found in the river by fishermen. Okay. So this led to a more in-depth search with dive teams, but they unfortunately would come up with nothing. So this is his county-issued laptop. So this is his work laptop. They find the laptop, but there is no hard drive. So yeah, so your hard drive is what has everything on it. You basically have a shell of a computer without the hard drive. Then a hard drive was later found on the banks of the river, but it was about 100 yards away from where the computer itself was found. And I don't know about you guys, but like when I think about, like, I love Criminal Minds.
Oh, I do too.
Penelope Garcia can do anything, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And we need Penelope Garcia right now, okay? Because this hard drive, after it is found, is sent to the FBI, the Secret Service, and Kroll on Track. So Kroll on Track, I had to look them up, was basically, their business is recovering things from hard drives. It's tech, basically. No one could get anything off of this hard drive. They could recover nothing. So they couldn't even disprove or prove that the hard drive belonged to Ray. So you've got this random hard drive. So then we move on to the next thing, okay? In 2009, it was revealed that some really interesting things were found on Ray's home computer. Now, again, this home computer is shared by his girlfriend, his stepdaughter, and himself. They all have access to it. So these are, and I quote, the searches that were found on this computer. How to wreck a hard drive, how to fry a hard drive, and water damage to a notebook computer were all searched on this computer. But again, you can't prove that Ray was the one who looked for them or that he was the one that searched those terms. Now, Ray has not been seen since 2005. In the summer of 2011, his daughter petitions to have him declared legally dead in absentia, which basically means we don't have a body, but he's presumed not alive, okay? Literally the next day, the next day, a man was arrested in Utah, okay? And apparently he looks just like Ray. Like, just like Ray. They actually fingerprint him and send the prints to the FBI. Because you know, as a district attorney, Ray's got his fingerprints on file.
Yeah.
So it actually ended up not being Ray. Okay? So it wasn't Ray. Ray has never been seen again. Okay? But here's where we're gonna, you ready to put on your tinfoil hat? Because this is where we're gonna get into some weird things, okay?
She's on.
Okay, good. So Ray is literally 8 months from retirement at this point. Now, at retirement, you get retirement, you get money. So if you walk away from your life at this point, you're walking away from that money.
Yeah.
So you are just, how are you? It's literally almost impossible to walk away from your life in today's day and age. You have so many things that are connected to you, from social media to banking to, I mean, just anything. If you're going to get a job, you need a social security card or number at least. There's nothing, okay? There were cigarettes, or cigarette ash, excuse me, the smell of cigarettes and ash in his car. Now that seems kind of like, okay, and?
Maybe he wanted a little cigarette.
No, because Ray was notorious. He hated them. Like, he hated the smell of them. He was one of those people that if someone around him lit up, whether they were outside, inside, whatever, he would be like, can you put that out? Like, I mean, no cigarettes. So that was a little,
That's crazy.
that's a little
weird.
off, okay? There was also a mystery woman, okay? So while he was in the antique store, he was sighted with a dark-haired woman. Now, this woman has never come forward. They have asked for her to come forward. She's not suspected of anything. She's not accused of anything. And the whole mention of her is iffy. You have people who say they saw them together in this antique store, but it wasn't clear if they came together, if they met up there, it seemed like they knew each other at the very least, but was it just a chance encounter? And if it was just a chance encounter, why didn't she come forward? Why wouldn't you be like, hey, yeah, I saw him, he's missing? Because, again, if you know him, you know he's missing. You have people who speculate that Ray was killed because of a case he tried, or possibly didn't try. Going back to the Sandusky case, was there a parent out there that was so angry that he didn't stop this in 1998 that they did something to him? But again, there's been no trace of him. They never found a body. They never found, and I mean, they found the computer and hard drive. If he was in the river, I feel like even with the dive teams and stuff, they would have found something, some evidence. There's not even any evidence that he went into the river. Where did the ash in this car come from? But one of my favorite things about this case, actually, there's my two favorite things, okay? How tight's your tinfoil hat?
It's tight.
Okay, good. So remember last week we talked about Jonathan Luna and how he was found in Lancaster, Pennsylvania? Do you know how far Lancaster is from where Ray goes missing?
Not very far.
71 miles.
Not very far.
Not very far. Super close. The other thing about this case that and I just think it's an interesting fact. Ray was obsessed with the case of Mel Wiley. Now, if you don't know who Mel Wiley is, I covered his case in February. He was a police officer who disappeared. Really strange circumstances in Ohio. There's a lot of speculation that maybe he disappeared and started his life elsewhere. So a lot of people feel like maybe Ray wanted a new life, that he wanted to start over. But again, you're 8 months from retirement. You are going to leave everything that you've worked this hard for and start with nothing? What do you guys think?
It's weird.
Did he disappear or was he killed?
Where did those ashes come from?
Right? Where did the ashes come from? Who's the dark-haired woman? I have all the questions.